The emergency session of the Galactic Council was going about as well as anyone could expect, which is to say it was an absolute disaster wrapped in bureaucratic nightmare and tied with a bow made of inflated egos. Commander Velcros slammed all 4 of his clawed appendages on the conference table, his reptilian features twisted in what might have been either deep concern or severe indigestion. The Temple of Axiom has activated its beacon after 10,000 years of silence. This is not a drill, people. This is destiny calling. Destiny does not make calls. Ambassador Quillnex clicked through his mandibles, adjusting his 17 pairs of reading glasses. Destiny files the appropriate paperwork and waits for approval like everyone else. Has anyone submitted Form 7734B regarding ancient temple activations? Professor Hartwig ruffled her iridescent feathers in exasperation. Form 7734B was deprecated 4 centuries ago, you bureaucratic nightmare. What matters is that the temple doors, which have rejected every legendary figure in recorded history, are showing signs of opening. The question is, for whom? The holographic display at the center of the chamber showed the Temple of Axiom in all its ancient glory. Massive doors carved from some material that made diamonds look like tissue paper covered in writing that predated most of the species in the room, and glowing with an energy signature that had every sensor in the sector going absolutely bananas. Perhaps it is me, Velcros said, puffing out his chest scales. I did conquer the 12 systems of Andromeda. You negotiated a trade agreement, Hartwig corrected, and you cried during the signing ceremony. They were tears of joy. Quillnex's antennae twitched. According to historical records, the temple only opens for beings who have achieved truly legendary status. World changers, galaxy shapers, individuals whose deeds echo through the cosmos. So definitely not you, Hartwig said to Velcros. Why not you? Velcros shot back. Your greatest achievement is publishing a paper that 17 people read, and 3 of them were your graduate students. The bickering continued for another 20 minutes, which was actually impressive restraint for the Galactic Council. They'd once spent 6 hours arguing about whether a sandwich was technically a sandwich if it had 3 pieces of bread. Eventually, they agreed to dispatch a fleet to the temple immediately and figure out which legendary figure had triggered the ancient beacon. None of them considered that the answer might be none of the above. Jake Hernandez was having what could scientifically be classified as a really bad week. First, his cargo hauler's navigation system had decided to interpret shortest route to Sector 7G as let's play intergalactic hide-and-seek. Then, his backup navigation system had somehow started only speaking Mandarin, which would have been fine except Jake's Mandarin was limited to hello, thank you, and where is the bathroom, and none of those phrases helped with stellar cartography. Now he was orbiting a planet that absolutely was not Sector 7G, eating his last protein bar, which tasted like sadness mixed with artificial strawberry flavoring, and he was pretty sure he was going to miss his nephew Tommy's 8th birthday party. Tommy had specifically requested that Uncle Jake bring back something cool from space, and so far all Jake had was a stress headache and 3 days of beard growth. Okay, Jake said to himself, because talking to yourself in space was either the first sign of cabin fever or totally normal depending on who you asked. That looks like a structure down there. Structures mean civilization. Civilization means bathrooms and directions and maybe food that doesn't taste like regret. He guided his ship down through the atmosphere, which was surprisingly breathable according to his sensors, and landed in what appeared to be a massive courtyard. Well, landed was generous. He more accurately scraped along the ground and maybe definitely hit one of those pillar things. The structure in front of him was impressive in that ancient, this probably means something important way. Huge doors, lots of glowing symbols, the kind of architecture that screamed, built by people who really wanted you to know they were a big deal. Jake just wanted to know where the nearest gas station equivalent was. He walked up to the doors, which were easily 50 feet tall and covered in writing that he couldn't read. Hello? He called out. Anyone home? I'm looking for directions to Sector 7G and also a bathroom. Mostly the bathroom, if I'm being honest. The doors, which had rejected the Emperor of Klaxon after his conquest of 17 systems, which had remained sealed when the Saint of Purity herself had meditated on their doorstep for 40 days, which had not budged when the War Master of the Crimson Fleet had attempted to blast them open with enough firepower to level a moon, immediately swung open with a pleasant chiming sound. Oh, thank God, Jake said, walking through. I thought I was going to have to pee behind a rock, and that just feels disrespectful on a planet with architecture this nice. Behind him, ancient mechanisms that had been dormant for 10,000 years whirred to life. The temple's systems activated one by one, lights cascading through chambers that had been dark since before humans discovered fire. Energy readings spiked across every spectrum. A beacon that could be detected across half the galaxy blazed to life. Jake was too busy looking for a bathroom sign to notice any of it. The Galactic Council's flagship arrived in orbit 47 minutes later, accompanied by an entire fleet that Velcros had insisted was appropriate for greeting a legendary figure. "The doors are open," Professor Hartwig announced, her voice tight with barely contained academic excitement. "After 10 millennia, they're actually open." "This is unprecedented," Quillnex clicked, already pulling up forms on his datapad. "We'll need to document everything. The Chosen One could be inside at this very moment, communing with ancient wisdom." They found the cargo hauler first. Jake's ship was parked at an angle that suggested either complete disregard for parking conventions or a spectacular failure at basic landing procedures. One of the ancient pillars had a fresh scrape mark. "That is not the vessel of a legendary hero," Velcros said slowly. "Maybe the hero is humble," Hartwig suggested, though she sounded doubtful. They entered the temple with the kind of reverent caution normally reserved for defusing bombs or meeting your partner's parents for the first time. The interior was breathtaking, all soaring architecture and crystalline structures that caught and refracted light in ways that should not be physically possible. It was also currently playing what sounded like elevator music. "Is the Temple of Axiom playing smooth jazz?" Hartwig asked. They found Jake in what the ancient text designated as the Sacred Chamber of Eternal Wisdom. He'd located the bathroom, which was honestly pretty impressive considering the lack of universal signage. He'd also apparently gotten hungry and made himself a sandwich using what appeared to be ceremonial offerings that had been left for ancient gods. The 1,000-year-old space bread was surprisingly still good. "Oh, hey," Jake said, walking out while eating his sandwich. "Do you guys know how to get to Sector 7G? My GPS is completely shot." The 3 council members stared at him, then at each other, then back at him. "Who are you?" Velcros demanded. "Jake Hernandez. I haul cargo. Who are you?" "We." Velcros drew himself up to his full height. "Are the Galactic Council, and you are inside the Temple of Axiom, which only opens for legendary heroes who have shaped the fate of civilizations." Jake looked around. "This is a temple? I thought it was like a rest stop or something. You guys have a really nice bathroom, by the way. The soap dispenser is super fancy." "The soap dispenser is an ancient cleansing ritual device blessed by the founders," Hartwig said faintly. "Well, it works great." Quillnex's antennae were vibrating with distress. "How did you open the doors? What legendary feat did you accomplish?" "I just walked up and they opened. Is that not normal?" "No," all 3 council members shouted in unison. Jake had then made the situation worse by trying to find a charging port for his phone and accidentally activating the temple's defense systems. Ancient Guardian constructs had emerged from the walls, taken one look at Jake, and immediately powered down again. The temple's AI had apparently decided he was authorized to be there. "I really just need directions," Jake said. "And maybe some snacks for the road if you guys have any." Velcros looked like he was having a stroke. Quillnex was speed-typing incident reports on his datapad. Hartwig was mumbling calculations under her breath, trying to reconcile the situation with known physics and prophecy. None of them could explain why the temple had accepted this random human cargo hauler. "There has to be an explanation," Velcros insisted, pacing back and forth. "The temple doors don't just open for anyone. Run a full background check." Quillnex was already 10 steps ahead, pulling up every piece of data he could find on Jake Hernandez. Jake, meanwhile, was sitting on what was probably a priceless ancient artifact, finishing his sandwich and wondering if this was going to make him late enough that he should call ahead. "Let's see," Quillnex read from his datapad. "Jake Hernandez, age 32, native of Earth, employed by Galactic Freight Solutions for 7 years. Standard cargo hauler. No criminal record, no military service, no scientific achievements, no political appointments, no—" "Wait," Hartwig interrupted. "Go back. What's that incident report from the Nebula Station 3? Quillnex scrolled. Yes. Apparently Mr. Hernandez prevented a significant altercation between a Krillian warrior clan, a Zephyrite merchant guild, and a group of Andromedian tourists. See? Velcros pointed at Jake. A legendary peacemaker. I bought everyone nachos, Jake said. They were just hangry. Have you ever tried to negotiate on an empty stomach? Doesn't work. Nachos, Hartwig repeated. He resolved a potential multi-species conflict with nachos. They were really good nachos, Jake added helpfully. Quillnex continued scrolling. He's delivered supplies to 47 different worlds across 7 sectors. That's quite extensive. That's legendary dedication to duty. Velcros was getting excited now, seeing patterns where there probably weren't any. That's literally my job, Jake protested. I'm a cargo hauler. I haul cargo to different places. That's like saying a mailman is legendary because he delivers mail. And here, Quillnex's mandibles clicked faster. He survived the neutron storm of Kepler 90, which destroyed 17 ships. Legendary courage in the face of cosmic danger. Velcros was practically vibrating now. I hid in a supply closet and ate an entire box of cookies until it passed, Jake said flatly. Mint chocolate chip. The storm lasted 6 hours. I felt sick for 2 days. But the council wasn't listening. They were building a narrative, connecting dots that probably shouldn't be connected, transforming a completely ordinary guy into something he absolutely wasn't. The temple kept humming approvingly every time Jake moved, which was really not helping his case. Perhaps the temple recognizes a different kind of greatness, Hartwig mused. Not conquest or achievement, but something more subtle, more profound. Or maybe there's a glitch, Jake suggested. Have you tried turning it off and on again? Velcros looked personally offended. You do not turn off a 10,000-year-old temple. I mean, you could try. The defense systems activated again briefly, seemed to recognize Jake, and shut down. One of the Guardian constructs waved at him. Jake waved back, because it seemed rude not to. This is impossible, Quillnex muttered, checking and rechecking his data. By every metric we have for measuring legendary status, you are aggressively average. Thanks, Jake said. And yet the temple accepts you completely. You've activated systems that haven't functioned in millennia. The ancient guardians treat you like an honored guest. None of this makes sense. Look, Jake stood up, brushing crumbs off his pants. I appreciate the weird mystical validation or whatever this is, but I really do need to get to Sector 7G. My nephew's birthday is tomorrow and I promised I'd be there. Can someone just point me in the right direction? The 3 council members looked at each other. For all their knowledge, all their scientific expertise and historical understanding, they had absolutely no idea what was happening. We need to access the temple's central AI, Hartwig decided. Get an explanation directly from the source. There's an AI? Jake asked. Can it give directions? The central AI chamber was, predictably, at the heart of the temple, and required walking through about 17 chambers that seemed designed specifically to make visitors feel insignificant. Jake mostly noticed that the acoustics were really good and started humming to test the echo. The AI itself manifested as a holographic figure that looked like it had been designed by a committee that couldn't agree on what species it should resemble, so they just mashed together features from several. The result was oddly well, the AI said, its voice warm and slightly amused. This is the most entertainment I've had in about 9,000 years, maybe 10. I stopped counting after the first millennium. Time gets weird when you're artificial intelligence in a box. You can explain this? Velcros demanded. Why has the temple opened for this human? Oh, sure. But first, quick question. Have you all been interpreting the door inscriptions as only legends may enter? Yes, Hartwig said. That's what they say. See, that's hilarious because it actually says legends not required. The ancient language was super context dependent, and you apparently lost the context about 8,000 years ago. I've been watching species completely misunderstand the whole thing for millennia. It's been comedy gold. There was a long silence. Are you telling me, Velcro said slowly, that we've spent 10,000 years believing the temple only accepted legendary heroes when it specifically does not require legendary status? Ding ding ding. Give this reptile a prize. The temple was never looking for heroes or legends or whatever. The founders who built this place were actually pretty chill. They wanted something else entirely. The AI turned its attention to Jake. You help people, don't you? Like, actually help them, not for glory or recognition, just because they need help. I guess, Jake shrugged. I deliver medicine, food, supplies. People need stuff. I bring them stuff. It's not complicated. And you treat everyone the same. Every species, every culture. You don't see differences, just people. Well, yeah, everyone's just trying to get by. Why would I treat someone different because they have scales or antennae or whatever? And when you face danger, the AI continued, clearly enjoying itself now, you don't do the dramatic hero thing. You find practical solutions, hide in closets, buy nachos, make sandwiches. Survival is survival, Jake said. You do what works. The AI turned back to the council. This temple wasn't built to test heroes. It was built as a community center, a rest stop, a place where people could be decent to each other without all the posturing and politics. The founders were kind of tired of the whole legendary warrior thing. They valued something simpler. Kindness, Hartwig breathed. Equality, Quillnex added. Practical problem solving, Velcros finished, sounding slightly strangled. Exactly. The temple opens for people who help others without expecting glory, who treat all beings with basic respect, and who face challenges with common sense instead of heroic nonsense. Your boy Jake here hit all three criteria the moment he walked up and asked politely if anyone could help him find a bathroom. So I'm not legendary? Jake asked. Oh, you're completely ordinary, the AI confirmed cheerfully. That's exactly why you got in. Congratulations, you're a decent person. The bar is apparently pretty low. Velcro sat down heavily. We've misunderstood everything, for 10,000 years. To be fair, the AI said, you're not the first. I've watched about 40 different civilizations make the same mistake. You're just the first ones who got to see what happens when someone actually qualified showed up. Usually they just worship the doors from outside and eventually leave. This is going to require so much paperwork, Quillnex moaned. Can I go now? Jake asked. I mean, this has been weird but informative, but I really do need those directions. The AI laughed. I like you. Yes, you can go. Sector 7G is about 3 jumps from here. I'll download the route to your ship. And hey, take some of the snacks from the offering chambers. They're self-replenishing and they're genuinely good. The founders knew their way around a protein bar. Jake left the Temple of Axiom 40 minutes later with a ship full of snacks that didn't taste like regret. Accurate directions to Sector 7G and a small crystalline card that the AI had given him as a joke. It said frequent visitor, Temple of Axiom, and had a punch card system that promised a free beverage after 10 visits. Will I be back? Jake had asked. Probably not, the AI had said, but it's fun to imagine you accumulating temple punch card rewards. The Galactic Council remained behind, staring at the temple that had just upended 10,000 years of historical interpretation with the casual energy of someone correcting a really obvious typo. We need to issue a statement, Quillnex said finally. Revise the historical records, update the prophecy databases. The temple wasn't looking for legends, Hartwig said quietly. It was looking for decent people. How many truly decent people do you think could open these doors? Velcros asked. It was actually a pretty profound question, and none of them had a good answer. The AI, still manifested in the central chamber, started composing a new log entry. First visitor in 10,000 years, it typed. Cargo hauler looking for bathroom. Perfect match. The universe has a sense of humor after all. 3 weeks later, the temple reopened as exactly what it had been designed to be, a rest stop and community center. The entry requirement was simple. Be a reasonably decent person who treats others with basic respect. The line to get in was surprisingly short. Turns out a lot of beings were either not that decent or not interested in a rest stop that judged their character. Jake made it to Tommy's birthday party 6 hours late, which was actually pretty good considering he'd been lost in space, and accidentally became the first person in 10 millennia to enter an ancient temple. Uncle Jake! Tommy ran up as Jake arrived, still wearing his cargo hauler jumpsuit and probably smelling like 3 days in space. Did you bring me something cool from space? Jake pulled out the crystalline card. It caught the light beautifully, refracting it into rainbows. It looked expensive and mysterious and definitely from somewhere important. It's a frequent visitor card, Jake explained. From a temple older than most civilizations in the galaxy. Tommy turned it over in his hands, eyes wide. Is this like a gift card? Sort of. Is it for Space Costco? Sure, Jake said, because explaining the actual story would take too long and also no one would believe him. It's basically for Space Costco. Tommy seemed satisfied with this answer and ran off to show his friends his cool space gift card. Jake grabbed a piece of birthday cake and sat down, finally able to relax. His sister sat down next to him. Rough trip? You have no idea, Jake said. I got lost, broke into an ancient temple, accidentally became the first person in 10,000 years to pass some kind of cosmic character test, and found out that being a decent person is apparently rare enough to be considered special. His sister laughed. You always did have an imagination. Yeah, Jake agreed, taking a bite of cake. Imagination. That's definitely what it was. Somewhere in deep space, the Temple of Axiom hummed contentedly. The AI watched as a few more visitors approached its doors, each one hoping to prove they were worthy. Most would be disappointed. But every once in a while, someone would walk up, treat the temple with simple respect, and ask politely if they could come in. And the doors would open. Because in the end, that's all it ever took.